vast majority of Americans feel very, very uncomfortable with this new bill. People who supported us, political independents, want it repealed and replaced with something else. I think we owe it to them to try.
So they will try. Mitch McConnell, one of the Republican leaders in the Senate, say if they cannot repeal it, they will hit the health care law where it hurts the most. That's in the money, the funding. Stephen Moore, senior economic writer for the Wall Street Journal, here to break that down. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
This can get hairy and sticky and complicated. What is the best chance if you're going to target the money? What do you target? Well,
let me just lay this out a little bit, Bill. Here's what's going to happen. I think the House will have a vote to repeal Obamacare, and I think that John Boehner has the votes to do that. I think it probably dies in the Senate, and so repeal probably, doesn't go anywhere.
Let me stop you there. So in the House, you are predicting or expecting you get a straight up and down vote on repeal?
Yeah, and I think that'll happen.
Given the current makeup of the House, it passes. Okay, continue.
Yeah, I think it'll happen in the first few weeks of this new Congress, and then it'll be debated for a few weeks in the Senate, and it'll die there like so many things do. And then I think the Republican strategy, and I've talked to a number of Republican leaders over the last couple of weeks, what they want to do is sort of a death of a thousand cuts with this bill, and that is defund the agencies that have to implement it. One of the key agencies you and I have talked about in this show is the IRS. As you know, there are all sorts of new reporting requirements that businesses have. You remember the whole idea you have to report anything over $500 in expense. What the Republicans are telling me is we're just not going to fund the extra IRS agents that they would need to put that in place. Then you have all sorts of...
Stand by one second. 16,000 new IRS employees, according to this law, right? 16,000?
That's right. Yeah, here's the key, Bill. The Congress has the power of the purse. The president can't spend money. And so what Republicans are saying is here, we're not going to authorize and appropriate the money for the Obama administration to hire these 16,000 additional IRS agents.
So that move then freezes, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it means that they can't possibly implement the plan if they don't have the people to do it. And that, by the way, that's the same way with a lot of the agencies at the Health and Human Services Department that needs to have a big staff to implement this program. So this could basically smother Obamacare before it actually gets implemented.
Okay, there's another thing we have not mentioned. That's all these Republican governors now after the midterms.
Yep.
They, too, are charged with implementing the health care law. They could give it the Heisman and say we're not going to go through with it. Now well, we've debated this before, I don't think with you, however. Right. There is a provision in the health care law that says if the states do not enact it, federal law trumps state law. So,
well,
if
Bill,
that is true, it does not matter what a governor does, because federal law will make them do it. Your view on that?
Bill, well, you're right about that, except I think that's going to go right straight to the Supreme Court. As you know, my state of Virginia, our Attorney General is suing the federal government. I think there are now 8 to 10 states that are suing the federal government, saying the federal government doesn't have the authority to require us to do this. So what we're basically laying out here, Bill, is that there is a very tough path for Barack Obama to get this plan implemented, even though it has been passed by Congress. So I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't at least delayed for a couple of years before all these issues get sorted out. And also, Bill, I wouldn't be surprised if Republicans say, look, we're not going to fund the IRS, we're not going to fund these HHS people to implement this. You might actually have a government shutdown. Remember in 1996 when Bill Clinton ran the presidency and the Republicans ran the Congress, we had a shutdown. Yeah. We might be headed right down that same path on this issue of Obamacare.
One more point on all of that. Paul Ryan said full repeal is not possible until the year 2013 because you need a more favorable Senate, which means you need to take more seats away from Democrats, and you need a Republican in the White House. Is that the reality?
Well, he's right about probably need a Republican in the White House. I don't think Obamacare is going to sign a bill that eviscerates what he calls his crowning achievement. But you know what? Don't forget, Bill, in the Senate, there are 23 Senate Democrats who are up for re-election in 2012. As you heard Mitch McConnell just say quite correctly, Obamacare is falling in the polls every day on Election Day. 52% of the voters said they want it repealed. So I wouldn't be surprised if you might not be able to get through the Senate, even though the Senate is still controlled with 53 votes by the Democrats.
To that point, watch Joe Manchin in West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly.
Bird's term out, and watch Jim Webb out of Virginia.
Mary Landrieu. Mary Landrieu of Louisiana.
Right.
Yep.
Stephen Moore, interesting stuff. Watch the IRS, okay? Thanks for coming in today.
Death of a thousand cuts.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. We are taking questions on this. Hemmer at foxnews.com on our homepage. Also, shoot me an email.
All right, sorry about that. It was another.
That's all right, Stephen. You were just fine. That's okay. We can
my God.
We can say goodbye
what is
now.
With Mondays?
No,
Mondays
we're still on TV,
horrible.
Stephen. It's okay. We can cut his microphone. Also on
Bye,
Twitter,
Steve.
at Bill Hemmer, because you asked.